Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Anne and today I'm going to be bringing you my January wrap up. Thankfully, January is finally over. It felt like a really long month, which is surprising because I didn't go back to work until the 13th of Jan. And it just felt like it was really long. But anyway, we have a lot of books to talk about, so let's just get into my statistics for the month and then we will get into my reviews. So for the monthly statistics, I read 16 books, 2 were physical, 6 from ebooks, 5 audiobooks and 3 mixed media, which means I either read them like half and half as audio and physical, or half and half as ebook audio, or ebook and physical. I was kind of mixing some of my medias here to try and get some books read. For the genres read, I read 7 fantasy romance, 2 monster romance, 2 fantasy, 1 romance, 1 sci-fi, 1 dark romance, 1 contemporary and 1 classic. So a lot going on in this month, lots of genres read. It was definitely a fun time kind of mood reading a little bit more this month. Then for the age ranges, not much difference here in any month that I have. We have 14 adult, 2 young adult, 0 middle grade. I really need to read some more middle grade that I have on my shelves, but we will get there at some point. Ratings for January: 7 5 stars, 7 4 stars, 1 3 star, and unfortunately 1 1 star that I don't really want to talk about, but we're going to have to talk about in this video. Books acquired, I had 8 from my own shelves, 0 from the library, 0 ARCs unfortunately, 4 Kindle Unlimited, 1 Audible and 2 from Libby. So that is all of the statistics. So let me just pull up my spreadsheet so we can talk about the books. Alrighty, so the first book that I read in the month of January and finished in January was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. So this is book 1 in her new series. Book 2 has just been announced. It's coming in October or November, but in this one we're following our main character Sarah. So she lives in this world where there is no water, it is very hot, it is very dry, and she makes a living from being a thief. And one day while she is stealing something, she gets caught and ends up in a dangerous situation where she is possibly going to be put to death. So she kind of fights back and comes face to face with Kingfisher, Death himself, and gets taken to this new world and starts learning all these new things. And I love this. This is in my Brie vlog, so I talked a lot more about this one in here, but I love this book so much. It is 5-star read for me. I tabbed it up so much and it was just great. I started this on ebook and then I moved into the physical because I convinced my partner that I needed a physical copy. But I love this. I love the tension, I love the romance, I love Kingfisher. He is so broody and he is an actual asshole, and it was great to follow him. And Ceres is also a very strong main character. Carrion is one of the best side characters I've read in a long time. He is hilarious and such comic relief to the story, and it was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it. The next one that I finished in the month of January was A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. So I started this in December and it took me a long time to read this because for one, it is a chunky boy, and for two, I've heard so many things about this story saying how sad it is and how you're going to be crying all the time, and that is true. I started listening to this on audio, and as the story went on, I could feel myself starting to cry at work, so I had to turn it off and then finish it on holiday over the Christmas holidays because I wanted to be at home, so if I did cry that I wouldn't be crying at work. And that is true. I cried a lot in this book. This is following Jude and his group of friends from college all the way up until their older life, and we're following Jude, who is everyone's kind of involved with Jude because Jude has a past that no one really knows about, but you know it was traumatic. He has a lot of issues going on. There's a lot of triggers within the story, and we're just following this group of friends as they are dealing with life and how they deal with life and all of the things that happen within life that make life hard. This is so sad. I gave this 4 stars. I feel like it was a little bit long. The chapters were so long. Like one of the chapters is like 3 hours long on audio, and it's just heartbreaking. There is so much that goes into this story. There is so much depth and pain and trauma and emotion and The found family aspects in here are beautiful. I love the friendship within here, although there are certain times when they weren't great for one another, but they did come back together and kind of deal with those. We also get some past timelines where we're following Jude as a child and kind of seeing the things that he went through, and it is tough to read. So please, please, please do, if you're going to read this book, please check the trigger warnings, because they are dark. And this is a really, really dark and hard story to read. So please protect your own mental health, because this book broke me. The next one that I finished in the month of January was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This was a reread for me, and as you can see, I even tabbed it up even more this time around. But this is following Violet, and she has always been training to be a scribe and moving into the scribe quadrant, but her mother has decided that she is going to become a dragon rider, even though Violet is not possible. It's not possible for Violet really to become a dragon rider, because she has a chronic illness where her like muscles and joints like pop out, and she deals with pain her whole life. And obviously being a dragon rider is really dangerous, because you have to learn how to fight, you have to try and learn how to ride a dragon, and Violet really struggles. And then she is also trying to hide from Xaden, who is out for revenge for what her mother has done to his family and his father. And we just watched this story go. So this was a reread for me in preparation for Onyx Storm that released in January. So you're going to see more Rebecca Yarros pop up in this video. But I really, really love this one. I love the relationship. I love the family. I love the tension, the action. I love how much growth Violet has within the story. And it's so good, and I loved it. Next one that I read was Spooky Cat by C.H. Lane. So this is a very short novella where we're following our main character, who ends up kind of being haunted by a demon cat, and we watch their story unfurl from there, where our main character is trying to exorcise this demon from the cat, and it's just the cutest fun time. There is some very important discussions in here in regards to identity and pronouns and things like that, and I really, really love this story, and it was just such a fun, cute little read, and I'm very excited to continue with this series and read book 2 and book 3 and see what more fun, spooky stuff what this little cat ends up doing. It was a 4-star read for me, and I just had a really good time with it. The next one that I read was The Ever Queen by L.J. Andrews. This was part of my pre-vlog as well. I read this in preparation to read The Mist Thief, and I love this book so much. So this is carrying immediately on from what happened at the end of The Ever King. So we're picking up right where that cliffhanger left off. And I just love this. I love seeing all of the families come together and fight against the evil within this story. It is so good. I love the relationship. I love the dynamic between Livia and Eric, and I just loved it. I had to pick up a physical copy because they are being traditionally published, so I needed to get a indie cover to match my Ever King. So yeah, I really loved it, and I'm so happy to have these on my shelves and so happy to have read this series. So massive thank you to Brie for making me read this series. If you don't know what the Ever King is about, this is about our main character Livia and Eric. Eric is the king of the sea, and Livia is the princess of the Earth Fae. And when they were younger, Eric was a prisoner for the Earth Fae, and Livia would sneak out and see him and tell him stories and try to create a friendship with him, and when he left, he always promised her that he would come back for her. Livia is now a little bit older and has always had nightmares that this king was going to come back for her, and certain things happen where he does, and she gets kidnapped by him, and he is going to use her as a pawn against her family to get revenge, and we just watched their relationship flourish from there. I really loved it. The enemies to lovers vibes is great. They are so at each other's throats, and it's just so good. I had the best time with it. The next one that I read was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This is a 3-star read for me, and this is a classic. It's a very short one, and this is going to be coming up in an upcoming vlog that's coming soon, where I read some of the books that my boyfriend has picked off my shelves for me to read. So I won't talk too much about this, but it is a 3-star read for me. It was pretty fine. It was a very quick read, but I'll talk more in depth about it in the vlog that is going to be coming soon. The next book that I read was Sugar Cookies by V. Taylor, and this is my 1-star read of the month. So this is an 80-page smutty romance story about a girl who's decided that she's going to buy a bakery, and she isn't a baker, never baked anything in her life, and she just decides that she's going to buy this bakery and become a baker. And we have some weird smut in here. This is my 1-star read. I only read this because in our Valaris Vixens book group, one of the girls sent a reel or a screenshot of someone, of the author, promoting this book with a quote from the book, and it confused us and it made us intrigued to read the book. So myself and Brie decided that we were going to face this book for everyone and kind of live react while we're reading the book within the group chat. The live reaction was the best part of reading this book because this book was terrible. I hated it. I need bleach for reading this book. The writing is terrible. The smut is terrible. I think it was supposed to be funny, but it was more gross and uncomfortable for me. I did not like this book and I don't want to talk about it anymore, so we are just going to move on to a way better book, which was The Mist Thief. So this is the 3rd book in the Everseas series, and this follows on from the Everqueen, but it is following a new couple. So I would suggest that you read the Everking and the Everqueen before you read The Mist Thief, just because you get spoiled for everything that happens within that duology. But this is a standalone within the Everseas series. So in this one we're following Jonas and Skady, and after what happens in the Everqueen, Jonas decides that he has to marry this female to protect his family and everyone that he loves. So it is a marriage of convenience, arranged marriage, enemies to lovers sort of scenario, and it is so good. I wasn't sure if I liked Skady in the Everqueen. We didn't really see a lot of her, and the things that we did see of her weren't great. So I was very intrigued to see where this story was going to go, and I loved it. Jonas is amazing. Just like Eric, he can get it because I am in love with him. And I really love the relationship between him and Skady, even though it is a marriage of convenience and Jonas is adamant that his heart is not going to be involved in this relationship, that he will honor his wife and he will take care of her and make sure she's happy where they are. And I really love that, even though that they do start falling for each other. But I really love how committed Jonas is to making sure she's safe and happy, and I just loved it, and I really loved their dynamic. I love the art in here, and I'm just so excited to continue with this series because it is so good. I just love all of these characters and people, and I just had the best time. The next one that I read was another reread, and this is Lights Out by Navisa Allen. This was a audiobook that I just turned on the first couple of days back at work, just to get me into a happy mood while being back at work. This is about our main character, Ali, and she is a trauma nurse, and she has a weird and a kind of fun obsession with masked men on social media. So she has this one guy that she really loves to watch, and she is like obsessed with his content. And one night when she's feeling a little bit frisky, she takes a screenshot of this guy's video and sends it to her friends with benefits, and she's like, hey, how about we meet up and you wear a mask and we'll have a bit of fun? And he's like, no thanks, that isn't for me, I'm dating someone new, we're over, blah blah blah. And she's like, oh shit, okay, whatever. And then we're following Josh, and his best friend is Ali's friends with benefit, and he shows Josh the text message like, oh my god, look what she's into, this is so weird. And turns out that Josh is the guy whose TikTok she sent a screenshot of, and it is so fun. Josh is, although he is morally grey and he decides that he's going to stalk Ali and do some very dubious things, he is a cinnamon roll character. This is my 3rd reread of this book, and I read it for the first time in August of last year. I love this book so much, and I now have 2 editions of it on paperback. Oh, I can get my paperback and talk about it, hold it up. I forgot Brie bought me the paperback, so massive thank you to Brie. So yes, talking about this book, this is beautiful. I love this so much. I am obsessed with this. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and I'm very excited to read book 2 that comes out very, very soon. But yeah, Josh is a cinnamon roll character, although he is very morally grey, and Ellie is just this badass female who's not afraid to say what she means. And although she is kind of creeped out by what Josh is doing, she is also very intrigued. And she doesn't know who he is, so she's also on this mission trying to figure out who he is and doing these sneaky little things to try and figure out where he's from. And I just love it. Fred the cat in here too is this, he feels like a main character in this book. He is so prominent within the story, and I just love it. The audiobook is great too. Because when Josh is wearing a voice modulator, the audiobook also has the modulator in there too, and I cannot wait to read this book physically and just tab the crap out of it, because I am so obsessed with this book, and I cannot believe that I finally have the paperback edition thanks to Brie. The next one that I read was Barbarian's Taming by Ruby Dixon, and I'm pretty sure that this is book 8 in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. In this one we're following Maddie, and she is feeling a little bit left out because she's one of the new girls that came out. She's feeling a little bit left out because everyone has paired off and she doesn't have a pair, and her sister is like living this way and really thriving in this situation, whereas Maddie isn't. And she ends up deciding that, you know what, I'm just going to have a bit of fun with one of these aliens and go from there. And we're following her partner Hayden and seeing that he's kind of obsessed with her and he believes that they're mates, but Maddie is just like, no, we're just being friends with benefits. And it's just, it was a fun time. I really liked watching both of them break down their barriers and go through a lot of healing and growth within the story. To be fair, all of these books kind of blur together now at the moment. So yeah, I did like this one too, because there is definitely a shift in the story and where we're going with the story in the overarching plot of this whole series. Some big changes happened within here. There's a lot of serious moments within the story as well, which I enjoyed. So yeah, I think it's one of my favorites within this series, but again, they do kind of end up blending together as we go through. The next one that I read was Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. This has been sitting on my shelves for years. I'm pretty sure this is one of the first books that I bought when I moved here in New Zealand almost 6 years ago. It's been sitting on my shelf that long. This is a sci-fi story and I gave this a 4-star read. I listened to it on audio and I'm glad that I went that route. It was really good and I do really enjoy this story. So in this one we're following Syra, and she is the sister of a brutal tyrant who is trying to control everything and everyone, and he is brutal and he hurts people on purpose and uses Kyra as sort of his weapon. And then we're also following Akos, who is the son of a farmer and oracle from the frozen nation of Tuve, and their world is kind of, he has a current gift, and him and his brother end up getting captured by Syra's family, and him and Syra end up finally kind of coming together and building this really beautiful friendship, although that they are supposed to be enemies. And we're just following them on the story as they're trying to escape their fates, really. And it's just a really great story. I love the sci-fi, I love the world building. It is a great story, although it did take a while for me to kind of understand what was going on. I did really and thoroughly enjoy this. It is a 4-star read for me, and I'm very excited to check out the duology because it ends really crazily at the end. Like, there's a lot of death, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of torture, there's a lot in here, and this is a YA novel, and I would say that it would kind of sit with the older bracket of YA because there is quite some dark themes explored in here. And yeah, I just really loved it. It also kind of gave me a very kind of Roman Empire-esque feeling to it, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, this is definitely a duology that I would recommend. I am going to be picking up These Fates Divide, which is book 2, very soon, and I'm just very intrigued to see where this goes because it was really good, and I'm surprised that I I'm sad that I didn't pick it up sooner because this is definitely a really good book. The next one that I read was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith, and this is a 5-star read for me. So this is a dark fantasy romance, and I've heard so many amazing things about this. Kelsey picked this as my 12 books for 12 friends book recs, and I buddy read it with the beautiful archives of a fantasy fanatic, Rosie, on Instagram, and we had the best time with this. So in this one we're following our main character Ophelia, and she is a necromancer. So her mother has just passed away, and she is now taking on the role of a necromancer, and she finds out certain things about her family that kind of put them in a dangerous situation, and her sister Genevieve decides that she's going to run off and join the Phantasma, which is this sort of trials where you go in and you face the seven circles of hell, and if you win, you win a wish from a devil. And Ophelia decides that she needs to go and save her sister because the sister does some dumb stuff and Ophelia is always the one saving her. And I just loved it. The dark gothic atmospheric vibes was immaculate. I loved Blackwell. If we know who Blackwell is, we know who Blackwell is. And yeah, if you know, you know, because Blackwell is a chef's kiss. One of the best book boyfriends. The blood scene. Whew. There was some really good smut in here. There was certain twists and turns that I foresaw, but it was great to kind of, even though I guessed it, it was great to see how the author was going to weave that throughout the rest of the story. So I really love this. It was a 5-star read for me, and I'm definitely picking up a book 2, which is going to be following Ophelia's sister Genevieve within the next one. So I'm very excited, and I just loved it. It was great, and I'm finally so glad I finally picked it up. So thank you, Kelsey, for recommending that to me. The next one that I read was All I Wanted Was Sushi and Got Abducted by Aliens, and I don't remember what the author's name is, but the picture will be up here. This is just a fun smutty time. So we start this novel with our main character literally going to go and eat her sushi that she has just bought, and all of a sudden she wakes up and she's on an alien spaceship, and she is now abducted by aliens and going to be sold as this sort of entertainment for the aliens. So she's basically going into a club where she has to dance for aliens, and they kind of inject her with these horny hormones, and while she's on the way to her new house or where she's going to work, she kind of gets a little bit frisky within the taxi, makes eye contact with an alien, and he is obsessed. So he decides that he needs to have her, and we just follow the story from there. It's just this fun, hilarious time, and I just had a really good time with it. It was a fun audiobook to listen to. It made me laugh. There was just so much that happened within here that was just hilarious. It was just a silly, fun, goofy time, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It was a 4-star read for me. The next one that I read was Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. So this is book 2 in the Empyrean series. I just talked about Fourth Wing. This is my first read through of Iron Flame. I did start reading it physically and annotating it, but then it was taking me too long, so I picked up the ebook and I flew through it just so I could get to Onyx Storm and avoid spoilers. So I do need to read the rest of it and annotate it, but this is really good. So I was scared going into this one because I heard that Violet is quite annoying within this one, but again, yeah, I agree with that. She is annoying in this one. A little bit annoying in this one, but it's also understandable why she is because of how Fourth Wing ended. So it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of growth within here. There is a lot of character development. There's a lot more fan family aspects, and there's a lot more happening within this story. So we're watching Violet as she's dealing with the consequences of what happened in Fourth Wing while also trying to go through her second year at this war college, and it's just great. I loved it. 5-star read for me. It was just so much fun. I loved it, and I'm so excited to continue, finally continue with this series, because I've been putting Iron Flame on my TBR every month since I read Fourth Wing pretty much, and I was just avoiding it. So yeah, we finally read it, and I'm very happy to have finally read it. Next one that I read was Onyx Storm, which is book 3 in the brand new release from Rebecca Yarros. So this is book 3 in the Empyrean series. In this one we're following on from what leads at the end of Iron Flame. And unfortunately this one is a 4-star read for me. I did really enjoy this story, and there was certain things that caught me by surprise, but for some reason I just didn't feel as much in love with this story as Iron Flame and Fourth Wing. There was a lot more distance between certain characters within this. I don't know how to talk about this without spoiling it, but I found that there was a lot more distance with our characters within this one. Obviously there is major things happening in this one. There's a lot of reveals in this one. There's a lot of secrets being revealed. There's a lot of action and war and death in here, but I just felt like it's hard to explain because it's spoilery, but the distance between some characters affected me. I found that although there is still a lot more growth in here, there's a lot more relationship development, there's a lot more relationships developing in here, there's a lot more trust going around, and also trying to rebuild relationships and build relationships that weren't there before. There was just a little bit of a disconnect for me with this story. And yeah, it's a 4-star read for me, but I'm very excited to see where this goes, especially that the ending. The ending was surprising, and I'm very intrigued to see where Rebecca goes with this. Again, I read this on ebook just because I wanted to fly through it a little bit more, and when I'm annotating books it takes me a little bit longer to read, so I will be rereading this at some point to annotate it and go through it, and maybe on a reread, just maybe because I went straight from Iron Flame into this one, that I was just a little bit burnt out on this story. So maybe if I stagger it out and reread it at another point, it could be a 5-star. So yeah, that was fun. And the last book that I read was In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. I needed an audiobook, and I was just going through and I found this on Libby, and I knew that I had it on my shelf, so it's a perfect way to read a book off my shelves. So in this one we're following our main character, and in this world that in this world that she lives in, their magic is very rare, but it's also very controlled. And after watching her father die as a child, she has hidden her magic away. But when something happens where she has to show her magic to save a friend, she ends up being pulled into the royal family to use her power, and she is falling in love with the princess, but also falling in love with this guard that is connected to her. And I gave this a 4-star. This is definitely a story that has a lot going for it. There was a lot jam-packed into this one, which I feel like kind of hindered my enjoyment of this story because there was so much in here. I do feel like if it was a duology, it would have been spread out a little bit more, and there wouldn't be a little bit more of a disconnect for me with this story, just because there's so many things jam-packed into this very short novel. Like, it is a 4-star read for me, so I did enjoy it. There is a lot of funny moments in here, there's a lot of beautiful romances, there's a lot of beautiful discussions on polyamory and LGBTQIA plus relationships. We have characters who are they them, we have characters who are she he, she her, he him, all that kind of thing. And then we also have discussions on polyamory and all of these important topics that I really believe A.M. Strickland really focuses on within her stories, their stories. So yeah, I think that it's a good story, but I do wish it was a duology, just so we could kind of delve more into certain aspects of the story, which I did enjoy. So yeah, so that is all of the books that I read in January. We have a lot here. We've got 16 books, and a lot of them I have now physically, which is exciting, but also which kind of is scary, because I'm starting a new vlog series on my challenge, which is going to be one that's going to be upcoming. But it means that trying to get these books on my shelves, if I decide that I want to keep them, is meaning that things are going to have to get pulled off. and I don't know how I feel about that. So I will talk more about that in the vlog that will be coming very, very soon. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a like, comment down below what you read in the month of January or what your favorite book was in the month of January, and subscribe if you want to see more content from me. Bye.